Darcy here. I'll go ahead and call the October 26, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting to order at 6:32. We'll start with a roll call, and we'll start with, let's start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy here.
Jamie.
Jamie Knudsen here.
Darcy.
Darcy Dale here.
Bill.
William Olson here.
And myself, Sean Farrell here. All right, so we'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. All right, I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
And
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, thank you, everybody. Joe, do we have to start the public hearing at a certain time, or do you want to do your announcement?
You advertise it for 6:30, so we should do the public hearing first. Sorry, I'll have to ask other folks to wait if stand by for the public hearing.
Okay, so at this point in time, I'll open the public hearing for the liquor license application for A&M Motors on the corner of Asbury Street, and you should have all gotten the latest version of the.
Get on.
I'm on.
Okay.
I'm on.
All right.
Come on, bye.
The latest version in your packets. Does anybody have any questions? And I've lost my Zoom here. Am I on still? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can,
Yes.
I can hear you.
For some reason I can't see anybody anymore, but you can hear me. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or does anybody want to go ahead?
Will there be any contingencies or any, what's the word? Contingencies on this license?
I don't think so. Joe, can you speak to that, to Darcy's question?
Oh, why don't we, I mean, the applicant has their attorney here this time, so why don't we let the applicant and the attorney address the board real quickly on what's changed from the last application. And,
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's Attorney Alex Castro here, representing A&M Motors from Telman Costa. Just to double check, I did send a letter to the board regarding this hearing, the previous hearing. I was just wondering if the chair received that letter.
Yes, we have it. And Joe, was it in our packets tonight? I know we received it. We signed for it the other day.
I don't know if it was in, I don't know if it's in the packet, but
I know there's a lot of other information in the packet with the application and the changes that have been updated with one of the applicant's residents had changed or we had been corrected and the use had been corrected, or the name, as long as, or as far as the I think it's the person is taking the kind of I'm going to say co-ownership, but that's probably the wrong term. I can't remember what it was.
The director, if I may, I can recap what's been done since the last hearing and what was said.
Yeah, that'd be great, Alex. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The issue that was raised by the board with the license at the last hearing was effectively twofold. One of them had to do with the corporate filing, where the owner's address wasn't what it was, a PO box as opposed to what it currently is. We didn't have an updated name of the director because, as you know, a majority of the directors are required to reside in Massachusetts. So we made all the corrections on the corporate, all those corrections with an amended corporate filing that Sarah filed with you that you should have. The second issue that was raised was that A&M Motors, the prospective licensee, is located at an intersection that was characterized by a resident as dangerous and in a residential neighborhood. And in response to that, I believe the board and the town manager recommended that that the board and the town get us the sign off from Police Chief Russell Stevens as to any public safety concerns he may have.
If I can interject there, Alex, we did in our packets tonight, the board has a letter from Chief Stevens stating, I think there's a fatality there, but it was 25 years ago, and he doesn't deem it as a dangerous intersection at the moment.
Yeah, we reached out to him on the 16th via email and via phone. He finally got back to me today. via phone. He said that he did communicate his findings to the board. But if I may relate what he told me, because I asked him to forward me a copy, but he wanted only you to have it, just so we can see whether what he related to me comports with what you have in the document. He sent the board. Now, first, he said he took a copy. What he said to me was that he took a look a few years back, as far more than a few, apparently back to 25, and he didn't really see any issue regarding traffic or accidents at that intersection. And he said to me verbatim that he could tell you with respect to establishing granting a Section 15 license at that property that he had no public safety concerns whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what I took from it. He said he didn't. I think in the letter he stated to us he didn't see an issue with the liquor license being approved tonight.
Okay, and it's just to also summarize what was corrected and amended on the corporate filing. First, the type of business has been changed from real estate entity to a quote gas station with convenience store. The president, Anthony Barbaros's address has been changed from the address of the business to his home address in Clearwater, Florida. Ms. Johansson's address has been changed from a P.O. box to her home address in Hamilton. And she has been changed to the director now in the amended corporate filing. And as such, a majority of the directors are now residents of Massachusetts, which I believe remedies concern. Lastly, I believe there was a small concern that as the director and manager, how many hours Mrs. Johansson would be at the store. And I think she made clear in her cover letter when she resubmitted the materials that she's on call 24/7. And she's there 30 hours more a week and is always on call and always available at all times to the prospective licensee, and that she does, again, reside in Hamilton. We believe that those cure any infirmity with the application beforehand, as well as decisively answers any public safety concerns that were raised as well.
So then I guess, Alex, I'll ask my board if there's anything else. I mean, it seems like you've kind of changed things for what we were looking for and corrected a lot of the mistakes we saw in the application. I believe in our packets tonight, there is one letter of support from a resident who lives, I think, in close proximity in support of it. And we have the police chief saying that he is supporting it because he doesn't deem it as a dangerous intersection at the moment. So if any of my board wants to add any comments or ask Alex or Sarah or Anthony any follow-up questions, you're more than welcome to.
I have a question. Who's been doing the hiring for that gas station for the past 15 years or so?
You're on mute, Anthony, and I can probably start to say that you've leased the property up until fairly recently, right, before you redid it. So you really can't speak to probably the hiring because it was a renter beforehand, before it converted. Right, and it's the same thing, but before it's been improved. And Anthony, if you can just help clarify how long you've kind of taken the property back from the renter. How long have you had it back now? Well, you're still
on mute. Sorry, you're on mute. Joe, if you can unmute him.
I mean, I can answer as well.
Okay.
There he is.
There you are, Tony.
Yeah. So we took the station over in, what was it, 19, Sarah?
August 2018 is when the renter left.
We had it closed and then we reopened it.
January 2019.
Okay.
January 2019, right. Okay. So to answer the question, I was there for a good 6 months when we were doing the renovation, and me and Sarah together had people come in and interviewed, and we both agreed on hiring them, and the same people are there since we've opened. So that hasn't been raised, but since Sarah's the director, treasurer, and secretary, she will be doing all the hiring, firing, and managing the whole thing. So.
And Tony, just a follow up. Last time we'd spoken, I believe you said you were no longer going to use it as a service station. Is that correct?
That's correct. So no more engines, no more batteries, no more tires, no more junk. Right, exactly.
Do you have any future plans for that space in the building?
That's what's turning into the
That's what we're
convenience.
doing.
That's going to turn into the convenience part.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Propane, keeping the propane though, right?
So what happened is we got rid of the propane. We have propane, but we got rid of us filling it.
Okay.
Because what happens is, you have to take somebody from inside, and it's time consuming on stopping everything and trying to fill it. So what we do is now we have that Rhino
exchange or whatever. Yeah.
Rhino exchange. Yeah. So it's just basically quick, just so we can be right there, so we don't have to fill it and worry about deliveries and stuff. So.
Will you still be selling gasoline?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
That's our main business is the gasoline. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you have, and this is kind of a side question, do you have a time frame on the kind of conversion of the other part of the building for general public?
I'm hoping for 2 weeks from now.
Okay, so pretty
I'm
quick.
hoping.
They're working tonight, Tony. They're on it tonight. I just drove by. So
Yeah, we're like 24/7 trying to get this place done, and so the floors, there's no more lifts in there. The place is completely empty. We poured a new floor, new tile, new drop ceiling went in, new heating and air conditionings, and basically we're just finishing up so we can open the store. And once we tighten everything up, we have outside we have we're pouring some cement to make sure a handicapped person can go inside. And once that's completed, we're going to call the building inspector for an inspection for occupancy.
Okay.
I had 2 questions. Rosie, I don't know if you were down with your questions. I just had 2 questions. Rosie, are you all set?
I'm not, but you go ahead, Bill.
I said 2. One was, so we had our corporate counsel review your application just to make sure we didn't miss anything. So they reviewed it, thought it was complete. They had a couple of notes about other things you need to come up with in terms of proof of payroll tax and taxes and all that stuff. So that's all. So you're taking care of all that stuff.
We have that. Sarah has that. Whatever you need, just let us know.
And then the other thing was related to what you're talking about. Is the liquor pertain to the existing location, or do you have to wait till you open up the new? What does the license pertain to, the existing spot, or once you're done with the
We're
addition?
Consolidating the whole store. So once we take down a wall, it will be within the store.
So you're gonna wait until you open everything up and then do it then. Okay.
Yeah.
That was all I had, Rosie. You can jump in.
So I will say this, that this reconfiguration of the directors was done for convenience, to be able to attain a liquor license, more than a true evolution of the directorship. So my question is to Sarah. Sarah has not, so Sarah, have you been involved in running a liquor store, a beer and wine store before?
No, I have not,
Okay.
but I have worked for Anthony since 2001. So I've been working for A&M Motors all that time when we operated the station, before we leased it out, and the whole time. So I have worked, for him since 2001.
Tell me how long the gas station was leased out for before you took it back, or what was the time?
15 years.
Okay, so
We
the whole
leased it out
time.
in 2003. It was a
Okay.
15-year lease, and we took it back 2018.
Okay, so Sarah, and I say this with all respect to you, a liquor license is a formidable type of an award from a town to be awarded a liquor license comes with it an enormous responsibility. And so you have been advised of the legal and potential criminal responsibilities of not enforcing the rules for a license for sales with a liquor license, and you understand that and you're very comfortable with that?
I am. I feel I'm a very responsible person, and I am comfortable with that. I've sold, I'm a Gestapo when it comes to the cigarette sales. I know that's nothing in compared to beer and wine, but I understand the severity of it and the legal ramifications of it. Yes, I feel comfortable.
Mhm. Okay. So,
I think gasoline, not to interrupt, I think gasoline is a bigger responsibility to sell than alcohol. I mean, I understand of age, you got to be of age and you got to know all the rules and stuff, but a bigger liability is the gasoline. They put her through this test she has to do to manage the gasoline, the underground, which has to do with a lot of paperwork and testing and schooling and everything else. So, um, as far as the town's concerned, I understand that we have to be responsible in selling it, but the gasoline, I mean, what a huge liability that could be, to the grounds and the soil and everything else, and she manages that. So I don't think she'll have an issue. I mean, we card everybody with cigarettes, as she said, other than trying to figure out if somebody's intoxicated when they walk in. Of course, they're not going to be able to buy, and IDs are number one.
Right.
We do that.
And I get the follow up to kind of Tony's last statement, Sarah. Have you had any kind of tips training or anything like that for refusing liquor to people who have come in intoxicated?
I have not as of yet, because I was kind of waiting to see, what happens here, but
if there's any type of schooling or any type of program that the ABCC wants you to, wants us to go through, Sarah will certainly, if there's a course or something like that, we'll certainly attend that course. Same thing with selling coffee. Board of Health wanted us to go and get this course for sanitizing and cleaning and to make sure everything's clean the right way. It's the same thing, if it's
ServSafe certification.
Yeah, whatever we need to do to get in there and take the responsibility on us as far as selling the alcohol, we'll comply with whatever laws that are there.
Right. And Alex, I see you wanting to chime in. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to reiterate that. I mean, once the license is granted and we meet, all the requirements are met as they presently are, any other concern can be remedied before the actual sale begins. Any types of tips training, that can be done then, and we're happy to do so and will do so after the license is granted and before sales. But I mean, as it stands, it's simply not a requirement under the law.
Right.
For the granting of a Section 15 license under Chapter 138.
well, it's also at the discretion of the board. I'm sure you understand that, and we're entitled to ask these hard questions.
Of course. Well, certainly, when we appreciate your concern and we appreciate your questions, we're simply reiterating the legal standard, and that while it is a discretionary decision, such decisions would be overturned if they are arbitrary or capricious.
Okay. So, well, I think one of the concerns that I have is this license application has been entered into in a haphazard way, if I may say that. The original application was not terribly well thought out. There was a lot of conflicting information. There was information that gave us cause to decline to look at this application. And now here you are back again saying, oh yes, I understand all this, but yet admittedly have never sold liquor before and have not taken any courses, but said, oh, of course, we'll do that. I would like to see you being proactive about these sort of things and not relying upon us to say, well, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. That seems like a fair expectation.
Absolutely, but you can't expect us to go and get training, not even knowing if we're going to get issued a license. So once we get an issued license, we'll do everything we can to find out from the ABCC if there is any courses or anything we need to do to know certain laws about selling alcohol. And we
And the
will.
only thing I wanted to say about like the application is the application was filled out correctly with our correct addresses and everything. It was just the state filing page that had old information that hadn't been updated, but our application actually had Tony's Florida address on it. It actually had my physical address. It had all that information there. So it's not like we changed it and didn't have it right the first time. The application had it, but when we were looked up on the state filing, that had all the old information that just hadn't been updated.
Right, and I think it just kind of, Sarah, if I may interject, I think it just kind of compounded with the discrepancies with the application and with the state's information, and then the real estate entity,
Right, which that was a mistake that an old accountant had switched when we leased it out. It was always under a gas station before, so it was just, like I said, discrepancies with the state page that hadn't gotten updated when we gave our correct information on the application. So it's not like we were
right. No, but you have to see it from our point of view too. When we see something like this that has multiple kind of red flags on it, it raises some questions. So
well, we appreciate the board's concern, and we're here right now just saying we believe we've addressed all those concerns as stated in the amended corporate filing. Again, we're happy to hear any more concerns that the board has.
I think the new applications answered most of them, other than Mrs. Kennedy's kind of questions tonight. More kind of making sure you're doing the right thing for the town and making sure people are safe when they are buying liquor and it's being regulated in the proper way.
We will ensure that all necessary courses are taken by anyone who is managing or is going to sell alcohol at the establishment.
I appreciate that, and I'll take any more discussion, but I'd also take a motion from anybody that wants to make one.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
My name is William Hooper. I live at 177 Highland Street.
Hi, William.
Earlier in your conversation, you said there was a letter from the police chief regarding accidents at the intersection of Highland and Asbury.
Correct.
Number one, I'll tell you, every bicyclist that passes through there does not stop for the stop sign. But nevertheless, that's not the point I want to make. I'm a little bit concerned, and I wonder if there's been any review or any precautions against robbery.
I think that's a good question, Mr. Hooper. And I'll also, with entertaining Mr. Hooper's remarks, if there's anybody else, and I apologize for not thinking about it earlier, but if there's any public comment for anybody that's on that wants to speak to this, they can. And so I'll ask Tony, do you have any added security because of the liquor provisions?
I don't know what you're looking for. I mean, as far
do you have a security service or an alarm on the building?
Yeah, we have a security service that's monitored, and we have a cell phone monitoring system which monitors the alarm, the burglar alarm, and the fire alarm. We're required by the fire station, by police, fire, and to have that. And even if there's wires cut, there's a cell phone hidden somewhere in there that they can't cut wires. And if they get a fire call or, they pull the fire alarm, or it's a burglar alarm, of course, that's been there from day one.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to be combative. I just, I'm just trying to make sure that you're protecting your building and your assets.
We keep the money in a safe. It goes in, so, that, I don't know what else type of security, if somebody wants to.
We have cameras that record.
We have surveillance cameras.
All right, perfect. That sounds satisfactory to me.
That we can access from our telephones, and we have the DVR. So if something happens, we can rewind it back, and view it that way as well. So.
All right, Mr. Hooper, did you have any other questions?
No, I don't. Thank you very much.
And if there's anybody else on that I haven't had the chance to hear from, you're more than welcome to speak now. All right, as I said before, I'd entertain a motion from someone on the board to
Make a motion that we approve the A&M Motors consideration for ABCC license at 203 Highland Street.
Second.
All right, a second. Any other discussion? I think we've had quite a bit already, but I'll entertain any more if anybody wants to. All right, we'll start with a roll call vote then. All those in favor, we'll start with Rosemary.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill,
William Olson, aye.
Darcy,
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie,
Jamie Knutson, aye.
and myself, Sean Farrell, aye. That's everybody, right? I'm not forgetting anybody. All right. People are in different spots tonight on my screen. I apologize. I'm usually going right down the line. I appreciate your patience in fixing all the issues with the application. And I look forward to a prosperous business on the corner there again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you to everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Sarah, let us know if there's anything the town can do to help you guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Joe.
All right, so that concludes the public hearing for the liquor license application for A&M Motors. And we'll kind of go back to our normal order of business now. We have some announcements and board and committee openings. We have a Council on Aging opening. Actually, we have 2 openings on the Council on Aging. We have Hamilton Historic District Commission openings as well. And now we'll give a little brief time for selectmen and town manager reports. We'll start tonight with, let's start with Darcy tonight.
I don't have a lot, other than we had a town hall building committee meeting. We're having them weekly now as things are ramping up. We have another one tomorrow, and we're just gonna keep going. But that's about it.
All right.
For me.
Rosemary?
So I have a few things to just piggyback on Darcy's comments about the town hall building committee. We have word that the subcontractor bids have come in, and they have come in slightly under the estimates. So that's very good news. We still have more bids to come in. There are a few bids that will be in this Friday. Most of the subcontractor bids came on the 23rd. There are a few that'll be coming in this coming Friday, and then the final bid for the general contractor is due on the 6th. But certainly we're optimistic that the estimators were right on target with the subcontractor, most of the subcontractor costs. Second thing is there's going to be a senior flu clinic tomorrow. So anybody who's interested in that needs to sign up with the Council on Aging. And that's going to be from 9:30 until 1 tomorrow. It will be a drive-through at the fire station. We did one clinic last week for 4-year-olds to 64-year-olds, and it went very well. We did about 100 people. So look forward to seeing all the seniors tomorrow. And then finally, and probably most importantly to me, the Conservation Commission. There's a little bit of news there. I went on a site walk last week to 2 sites. One was a tear down and rebuild on Tobacco Lake, and that went well. And then the second one was a walk on Arabian Way, and the issue was whether the setback from wetlands was 25 feet, or is it something greater than that? The proponent wants to build a pretty large house there. They told us the plans amount to about 10,000 square feet, including the garages. So that's a pretty good sized house. But some of the abutters were there, and there was concern about that they had incorrectly delineated the wetlands. And so there was a walk from the Conservation Commission. And since then, there was an opinion by our town council that talks about the original setback of 25 feet in 2005 has long expired because they didn't actually build a dwelling. And here we are 15 years later. So the attorney's opinion is that the setbacks are, excuse me, not setbacks, but the boundary, the wetlands boundary is much greater than that. And I will also add that they did not find these specific measurement specifics in our wetlands bylaw. They acknowledged that they were in the regulations, but they weren't in the bylaw. And so what town council did was go to case law and to the State Wetlands Act. So this just reinforces to me the need to redo our wetlands bylaw act. And that's something that I have been very interested in, and in fact have written a new bylaw and have had a meeting with the Concom, and one of our town council KP Law attorneys was there. And so as soon as town meeting is over and all the effort that we've been putting into Town Hall Building Committee and into this special town meeting, my goal is to get back and work with the Conservation Commission, specifically 2 members who have been designated to work on this, and we will get to work rewriting our wetlands bylaw.
Thank you, Rosie. Jamie, do you have anything tonight?
I don't.
All right, Bill?
The only thing to add is that I think our goal this year has been to sort of have more open conversation with the school board and the superintendent. We've been focusing on other things, but as soon as we get through the town meeting, I think one of our next meetings right after the town meeting they'll be invited to our meeting. So I'm not sure if we picked that date yet, but I think it'll be end of November. We're looking at
I think
that.
we're looking at we have a meeting tentatively for the 22nd. We haven't approved our schedule yet, but I think we're going to.
So if you're interested in that, look on the schedule and the agenda coming up after we get through the town meeting.
All right. I really don't have anything to add with sake of brevity tonight, and I'll let Joe add some from his report.
Okay, thanks. Before I get started, I just really want to say I wanted to have Michelle Braylard is here. She's going to be our new public health nurse. As most of you know, back in August, Christine Lee, who served the town very well for the last several years, announced that she wanted to go back into a different type of nursing that she had been doing prior to coming to the town. And she gave us a lot of notice, and we needed it because it was really difficult to find somebody qualified enough and willing to come do the role here in Hamilton. So Michelle is got an impressive nursing career, but she's also recently been working with the school district and as a contact tracing nurse with our Wenham's partners. So she's well situated to be able to step right into the role and assist us as we continue to kind of recover in this pandemic time. And I wanted you to all meet her and give her maybe a few seconds to say hi and tell a little about herself if she likes.
Would you like, Michelle?
Thank you.
You're on mute, Michelle. Michelle, you're on mute.
Michelle, you're on mute.
Can you unmute her, Joe?
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Now
Yes.
Now we got it.
I'm thrilled to be able to work with the town. I've enjoyed working in the school system. I've enjoyed helping out Mary Beth Ting with Wenham and the COVID tracing. These are definitely crazy times. I'm happy to step in and learn something new. I have my master's in nursing. I'm a nurse practitioner. Hopefully I can add some value in this position and see where it takes us, but let's get through COVID first, right?
Much appreciated.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you all.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
You.
Now I was the one on mute.
I was going to say, now you're on mute, Joe.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it. I'll go real quickly through some of the stuff in my town manager report that was shared out to the board a little earlier this evening. And don't want to take too long. Most of folks can read this if they like on the town website later on. We have a new mask up campaign reminding people to socially distance and wear a mask and sanitize their hands and things. And on your screen, you can see 2 of the images. There's about 8 or 9 of them that we'll be sharing through social media on our website rather. And then we've also printed some of these out in hard copy, and we're hanging them in different public buildings to remind folks to practice social distancing and wear a mask when you're indoors. This was kind of a fun project to do because we tried to find ways to make this, Hamiltonized. And we worked with our partners in Wenham, so they have a similar campaign. This one is my favorite social distancing one with the 2 dogs and the 2 hounds and a fox. And then, of course, looking at a mask on a tank is always funny. I wanted to update you all on the special town meeting planning. We've had some folks that are concerned, I'm sure you are all aware, about doing an indoor special town meeting this time of year with the pandemic. We are looking at the possibility of doing it outdoors. It's going to be somewhat weather dependent, even with a tent. If it's a really, really bad weather day, it would be difficult to do it outside. We want to make sure that people feel as safe as possible. The current options that we're looking at are an indoor option in the high school gymnasium. That building, that gym could normally hold, several hundred people. We'd be looking to do no more than 250 chairs spaced 6 feet apart. It's got a very big head space, lots of room above you with a very strong air handling system that's recently been upgraded. So we feel like if we have to do it in there, we'd be well positioned to do it safely. Whether we do it inside the gymnasium or outside on a tent, we're going to be requiring people to wear masks. We have an opinion from town council that people can be required to wear masks. And if somebody comes to us and says they have a medical condition that doesn't allow them to wear a mask, we'll ask them to complete a health survey form, and we'll offer them a separate area where they could sit and pay attention to the town meeting and still be socially distanced and protect themselves and others. We'll have to make the decision whether to go outdoors or indoors. Well, we'll have to make a decision on whether or not to order the tent by this Friday, the 30th. I think, as always, if there's a big storm and we can't do it, even though we've ordered the tent, we may be able to move back indoors, but we really need to let the schools know what we want to do. Unfortunately, the drop dead date to order the tent is Friday, October 30th. It's still full 2 weeks before the town meeting, which I don't love for predicting weather in New England. It makes me a little bit nervous. Rough, not that we're making the decision based on finances, but just as a way of comparing the two. If we do it inside the gym, it's going to cost us a little over $6,000. If we do it outside in a tent with space heaters and sides on the tent and everything else, it's going to cost $35,000. So it's a big difference.
Is there CARES Act money left, Joe, or not?
Yeah. In either of these situations, we'll be using CARES Act funds to pay for it. So it won't be coming from town funds, but we still endeavor to spend all of the money and resources that we have available in as wise a way as possible. So we'll do what we can to make people feel comfortable. There is
Joe, on the tent. If we had the tent, would we have sides or no sides?
We've asked them to provide us a quote based on sides and heaters inside. The irony is that once you put the sides and have the heaters on in there, we're actually going to have less airflow than we would in the larger gymnasium. Right. But I also understand this isn't just a matter of logic. For many people who are having concerns right now, it's very much how they feel about being safe. And people feel that a lot of people have expressed they would feel safer in a tent with sides than they would in a building. So we need.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, Joe, I get it, and I have no preconceived notion on what's better. I just, for a health environment, I'd be interested to see what Dave says about it. I mean, we're putting hundreds of kids in that high school every day, and it's a safe place for them to be. So I would assume it's going to be a safe place for people to be 6 feet apart. But I think we should revisit with David one more time and just make sure.
Yep. We'll talk to David, and I was just going to add that we did put a survey up on the town website. We continue to push it out through the Facebook page, asking people to participate. So far, we've had about 40 responses, and it's about
41. I just filled one out.
41. We've, it's definitely shaping up as of right now. People predominantly answering, saying they'd rather be in a tent outside. About close to 80% of respondents said that they're likely or very likely to come to an outdoor. It's only around 50% that they'd be likely or very likely to come if it were indoors. So that's just one of the things we're trying to pay attention to. And
so Joe,
yes.
I'm sorry, can I ask just one more question about this?
Yep.
Is it at all possible, in past town meetings we've had an overflow room? Could we use the tent as an overflow room and maybe be able to get a smaller one that would cost us less? Just thinking here.
So I mean, the right now what we're looking at is if we do it inside of the gymnasium, we could handle easily 250 people with that's 15 rows of 13 across, or something like, and then there's additional chairs that would be in the back. We wouldn't set those up unless we needed them. And there's another room. There's the middle school cafetorium is already set up for socially distanced lunches for the students when they're there. So we've already identified that if we're inside, that would be the overflow room over there, because we can easily link them technologically, and it wouldn't require any additional cost. I really don't think that I don't think this is like the annual where people showed up to vote on the budget and we're going to be near 500 people. I'm more concerned that we make sure we get to a quorum.
No, but what Rosie's suggesting is that
people.
But Rosie's suggesting that people want to sit outside, have the opportunity to sit outside. So
Oh.
not maybe everybody being outside. So the question is, are we allowed to do? That's not a bad suggestion. I just don't know how that works logistically.
Since we'll be using our clickers to vote,
Right.
we won't have to have people running back and forth. I don't know. It just sort of popped into my head. I thought I would just mention it.
I'll talk to a tent for rent again tomorrow. See if we decrease the size of the tent, have it as an option. We'd have to spend a little bit more. We'd have a lesser price on the tent, but we'd have to spend a little bit more on audio visual, because we're gonna have to rig that room to be able to watch the meeting live and vote it. But let me run it down with them and we'll see. I'll have all the information for us by Friday when Sean and Bill Bowler get the duty of discussing and trying to decide which direction we go in.
Okay.
And the last thing I just wanted to, there's a couple of other things on my report, but one thing that I wanted to mention was the downtown parking study. We're going to be kicking that off with a kickoff meeting this Thursday afternoon. There's been a committee of people that have volunteered to work as a steering committee with the consultant. We'll all be meeting on, as I said, Thursday at 2, and getting that started. So there'll be very public meetings and stuff using virtual software to allow us to get input on, what are the parking needs? What's the current inventory spaces? What is the short and long-term future needs for parking in the downtown area? How do we manage parking? What does striping look like? What does signage look like? That'll all be part of the parking study. And that's, I think people will be happy to finally have that kicking off. So that's all I have for now.
Oh, excuse me. All right. Up next, we have 3 minutes for public comment for anything that's not on the agenda. If anybody wishes to speak, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we'll move on to the agenda.
I had a quick question. Joe, you have an update on the cell tower status?
Hey, Larry, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, actually, just today we had the memorandum of agreement that needed to be signed, that was required to be signed by the FCC, has been signed by myself, by the chairman of the Hamilton Historic District Commission, by the principal at Everest, and I think they're waiting now on the state officers to sign off. So that MOA should be fully executed, I'm hoping, very shortly, but I don't want to speak for the state. They'll act on it when they feel they should. And then we've already started preparing to receive a building permit application. So,
does that drive you towards a projected completion date at this point, or still too early for that?
Oh, at this point, I think it would be foolish of me to, project.
I just thought I'd ask.
Try to anticipate anything when it comes to this, but we've been told by Everest they fully intend to apply for the building permit before the end of the year. So I will say that's what they told me. So
I think that's fair. Anybody else other than Larry? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items. We have approved minutes of the September 21st, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting, approve the League of Women Voters sign at Patton Park, which was included in your packets, a photo of it. And I'm glad to see that we've replaced the one that got lost or damaged. And then approve our Selectmen's meeting calendar, which should also be in your packets for kind of returning to our regular cadence of the 1st and 3rd of the month meetings.
Yeah.
So for those of you who hadn't seen the sign or the picture of the sign, there it is. It's with our DPW and ready to be hung if you approve it.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
All right, a second by anybody?
Second.
All right, and then a roll call vote for all those who are in favor. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill,
William Olson, aye.
Darcy,
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie,
Jamie Knutson, aye.
and myself, Sean Farrell, aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. And now finally on to the agenda. We're actually not too far behind. We have first up mandatory compost proposal. We've talked about this kind of briefly in the past and some more briefly or in depth. We have a good representation of our waste reduction committee here tonight. In your packets, you should have the kind of proposed language for the proposal, I guess. And then you should have some information about other states, cities, towns, countries, etc., what they're doing, how long they've been doing it, their success rate, etc. And then I believe there's some other kind of data and numbers in there, if I'm getting it all correct, that Ed Gradle had sent to us, and it's included in your packets. So Ann or Gradle or anybody else from the Waste Reduction Committee want to kick this off and kind of talk a little bit to the data that we've already looked at, hopefully, everybody?
Well, for a starter, it should be about the easiest thing that this town has ever done, because you've already put everything in place. All we have to do is say, do it. And we're talking about roughly 30% of our trash stream. And we're hoping the Waste Reduction Committee is always looking for ways to reduce the tonnage of our trash. And clearly, with all of the possibility of removing a good deal of what's really heavy and getting it into a compost stream makes all the sense in the world. When the town has spent already all the money to provide every single household with a green bin, with a countertop collector, they provided residents with a hauler who will pick it up every single week. I mean, it couldn't be an easier kind of task to undergo. And you need to know that the rest of the state is looking at us tonight and very excited about the possibility of Hamilton, again, setting the pattern for the rest of the state that should be done with what's compostable concerning our trash.
Thank you, Gradle. So tonight, I don't have this up for a vote on the agenda. I don't think, even if we all kind of agree tonight that this is what we want to do, I think we need to kind of talk a little bit more in depth about the language and the proposal and kind of rollout and stuff. And if you've looked at it, you can see that we're well, what's the word I can say? We're not enforcing it yet or in depth and making punishments for people. We're kind of rolling it out in a way that we're trying to get participation without punishment, I guess.
Exactly.
And so we want to encourage people, and I think it's a little bit more than just agreeing on this proposal. It's more of a public information and outreach campaign as well that's really going to make this thing sold to the public. And I think it always comes down to the kind of bottom line, right? Finances and how much money this can save us by getting all this weight out of our waste stream and into compost. And overall, for me, it's just a moral obligation for the children that we're raising in the world today to keep this planet, sustainable for future generations. Everything that I see says we're getting really close, if not up against a point of no return for the earth, which is very saddening to me. So whatever we can do in our little community to promote this sustainability is all right in my book. And I think that, and Gradle will agree with me that if we are kind of following other pioneers in this endeavor, that more and more communities will look to us and see how we've been successful at it and will adopt it. We've done a similar thing with our plastic bag policy, and that started as a grassroots thing. And now we have many, many communities in our state and along the country and even in the world that now have plastic bag bans, and, things like that make a big difference when it all kind of adds up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'll just jump on that, Sean. I mean, I just came from Seattle, where they've been doing, where my family lives. They've been doing mandatory composting for years and years, and it's part of the way of life. It's called clean green. So, and I think about, like, when you weigh a decision like this, you weigh the pros and cons. I have a hard time listening to any cons. I mean, it's like Gradle said, it's everything's there in front of us. So and we could say, should I require somebody to do something? Well, we still required people with their trash in the black garbage can, and they put it in the black garbage can. It's a requirement. Nobody fought us and said, I'm not putting it in the black. I mean, so why is it any different than that? We're just giving them a different garbage can to sort of sort their trash and recycling. So there's no the requirement sort of is a bad argument. So everything's there in front of you. It's the right thing to do. It's going to save the town money. It's going to make us be a better town, be a better, steward of our earth. So I find hard to find any, and a good compromise. We're going to do trash every week and compost every. I mean, I think it's a win-win across the board. So I was trying to list cons, and the cons were just people who didn't want to do it, but that's not a good reason not to do it, just because you don't want to compost. If somebody's doing it on their own, then that's a different thing.
Right.
But if somebody just would want to do it, it's not a good. So just a different garbage can, different color.
Right.
The other thing is it could be a real teachable moment for families. Maybe the kids could actually measure the volume and measure the weight of these compostable, items, and actually do the math and figure out how much they're saving for, every week. I mean, it could be really fun for kids, and it could be something, they could grow up with and carry with them.
Yeah, and I think to Darcy's point, I think it was about a year ago we had Bob Woodward at a meeting, and he said he and his wife had weighed their compost, right? And I think you might all remember because we were all there, but it was, I think he said it was like 20 pounds or so, and he added it all up, and he actually calculated it all out, and he had those numbers, and it adds up. It adds up real quick.
I mean, in the real teaching moment, I agree too, that Darcy's to jump on that, is that I live across the street from Brickens Farms, and going over there is just, you should go over there and look at what we're doing over there and how simple it is and how impressive it is that your compost literally turns to, what they call black gold, but beautiful dirt in 3 months. 3 months, that's it. So, and they love having people over, love doing tours, love educating, open anytime you want. So, big educational opportunity to really see and it's happened right in our backyard. So literally.
I think, and I would second everything that everybody has said. I mean, one of the most important things for me is getting the compost every spring and knowing that I am putting environmentally sound fertilizer onto my lawn and for my trees and for my perennials. That means a lot to me, and I think people who have kids and animals, it would mean a lot to them as well. The more we get away from artificial chemicals in our earth, the better. And the other thing I wanted to say was that I've spoken to many people who were very much against the every other week trash program, who have absolutely no qualms about doing the composting. So I think that the Waste Reduction Committee is well on the track to success here. So thank you and well done.
And so let me just interrupt you before you're about to talk there, Jamie, my apologies. But I think if we're going to kind of talk about kind of expectations for tonight, let's kind of treat these, at least the proposal for the language, as kind of a first reading for us. And then we'll revisit it maybe on 11/9. And if you have changes in language or things that you want to do, we can discuss it, and maybe we can even redraft if there's some kind of minor edits and stuff, or if there's major ones, we can kind of get it done, and we can even maybe vote on it at that 11/9 meeting. All right, Jamie, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I was mainly going to say we have quite the little echo chamber here, but yeah, I do echo all those comments. Gradle, you had mentioned, I think at one of our past meetings, that you had a bunch of the bags, the liners ready. I assume that's not something that DPW can provide, but can you just say a little more about that?
Yes. Actually, the committee itself, thanks to Ann's investment, she went out and purchased hundreds of bags, and we're afraid they're going to expire if we don't give them away. And we're proposing, in fact, that they go with the green bin whenever somebody needs a new green bin, and we'll make them perhaps available at a very low price at town hall, so they don't have to buy them if people really want to use compostable bags. But we definitely have some in our possession at this time, and we're able to supply that to make the deal a bit sweeter for people who are entering the program.
That's a good idea.
I wonder if we could do something similar to what Gradle and Jamie were just talking about, that I know when we introduced the textile recycling with the pink bags, that company, not us, they had sent a flyer kind of in a plastic bag with a pink bag in it. I wonder if when we roll out this program, we could somehow get a compost bag or a liner to existing residents that do have the compost program as kind of a, welcome to stepping up your compost game or something like that. Just something that would be a little more, because I know we have, and I've had a few meetings recently about kind of communication to townspeople, and we kind of sit in this bubble here of our selectmen meetings and our circles and town committees, and it gets a little bit farther out than our contacts, but sometimes it doesn't get out as far as we want it to. And we can talk about it in our meetings, but Jane Doe down on the street might not hear that we've changed our compost program. So getting some type of mailing out to them and letting them know the changes in the program or the opportunity to compost every week, and kind of the cons or not the cons, but the pros of the whole situation and the cons of not doing it.
Actually, we have written a draft letter as a sample of what we might use to send to our residents. And we can provide that to you and you could work with that. It was designed just to explain the reason for it and how the program would go into effect.
And Joe's dying to try out his TikTok skills with some public service announcements. As Gradle and Ann know, we talked at a meeting over the summertime about kind of the best way to reach people. And we decided, that it was the youth and those platforms that really could get the word out in short snippets. So, we might all be doing a TikTok campaign in the near future.
You see the video the teachers did in middle school? It was fantastic.
Was it good?
It was a great video they did, but yeah, it got like a lot of energy for the kids going back to school. So I'll send it to you, Sean. But it was all the teachers in middle school did a video, like a 5-minute video. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
So Gradle, I think one of the things that you did, Gradle, and Anne, I think, and Linda was there as well, is come to town meeting and bring your posters and maybe your little sample packets. And the other thing I'd like to say is that I still have it. I recycle and compost, but a big learning tool was that great coded postcard that you sent that said yes, no, and I thought that was really helpful. People could just put that up on their refrigerator or stick it on the wall somewhere, and it's really simple. It's really helpful. So I would encourage you to do that again.
Yes.
Hand out bags. If you come to town meeting, you get free bags. I think that's a great idea.
What? Why not?
We are trying to limit the amount of things that we hand off at town meeting because of the pandemic. So,
Nick, were you trying to chime in?
Yeah, I was going to respond to Bill's comment because he said, I don't see any downsides for people. And I'm a huge proponent for this. I'm I compost everything. But one of the big things that's a problem for, I think, people who don't do it is the transition from their countertop where they're going to throw it to the green bin. And that might take some of the education. And if we're going to put out some kind of a educational piece, there are bins around that make it easy. They're filtered and so on. But that's a part where I think people get sort of squeamish. I have to say, we have flies around all the time, but little fruit flies, and we have to deal with that. But that's something that's the objection, Bill, that you might get from people who don't.
To Nick's point, I think the biggest factor is the ick factor for most people. Is they just don't want to deal with the smell or the breakdown of the food waste before it goes into the bin while it's on the countertop.
Yeah,
no, asking bag more frequently. They need to change the bag up.
If they put the food in their trash can, it's going to smell. It's going to smell in the trash can too. They're going to take it out to the garage. So, but I understand what Nick's saying. You got to double handle it, right? You got to put it in the bin and then put it in the. So it's a double handle. We like I said, we family of 4. My wife cooks every night. We compost. We put a lid on it. We don't even do a filter. We put a lid on the compost bin, and we don't have any flies or fruit flies in our house. So, I mean, it doesn't, no smell. So I think you just got to be able to keep the lid on it and empty it a couple times a
Yeah,
week.
there's no smell because it's so
Yeah.
short a time. But I
Yeah.
do know some people who want to do it longer. They throw it in the freezer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Ann, did you have something to add? You look like you're going to say something.
No, I was just going to say that I think the beauty about the program that we've proposed is that people can ease into it. And I think one of the things to tell people is you have your green bin. If you're troubled by the ick factor, just start off by putting in the paper products, put in the paper towels, put in the napkins, put in the stale slices of bread. I think, people can get there slowly, and we're not asking people to be there on day one, but I think there should be an expectation that people somehow start to use their green bins. The town gave them out 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And, we have a certain percentage of people in town who compost and do a great job at it. And I think it's time for the rest of the people to be nudged a little bit. So
I know it's in your draft ban, but I know some people have asked about green bins. Houses have changed ownership. The green bins have disappeared. So it basically tells you, gives you a phone number, call DPW and you get a new bin. So the question is, do we have to order more? Do we think we have enough to supplant those that have gone sort of move with people over the years or been broken?
Well, Gradle and I have a whole list of things that would need to be done in order for this policy to be implemented. One of those is to figure out how many green bids are currently at the DPW, maybe how many more we should order, how people get those. I think some people on our committee have offered to drop them off at people's homes because right now the DPW, the hours can be difficult for people who work. We could put a roll of the bio bags in the bin when it's dropped off at people's houses. We could put, the document that Rosie's talking about in there as well. So we have a whole list of things. We need to get the exemption sticker printed up. We need to agree with DPW how that would be issued, how those would be tracked. So I think there is a whole set of things that need to be decided and worked out in order to implement this. I think it's great to hear all of you are very much in support of this, and we can actually move forward with a policy that would have an effective date. And then I think people on the waste reduction team can certainly work with Joe and the DPW to figure out the details of how it's going to be implemented.
I love the idea of the starter kit for families, just putting everything in there, the bio bags and the instructions. And would that come with a countertop too? In the green bag?
Oh, we don't have funds set aside for countertops yet. I mean, we need to talk about that. If you're going to do it, where we're going to get the money, maybe we can, that might be something that we could ask the FinCom on a transfer fund, a reserve fund transfer, if we thought that was needed or necessary. So.
Well, Joe, there should be RDP funds. I don't know whether Hamilton has received its annual RDP award. I think we were lined up to get maybe $7,800 worth of money.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, so I think I think there's sources for that.
Right, and we can use that funds for our mailer and stuff like that, if I remember correctly, as long as it's related.
And I think it's worth.
I think we should talk to Tim because likely, we started the fiscal year with a plan for what our trash program was going to look like, and some of those funds may have already been programmed. So I don't want to assume that there's $7,800 sitting there available for this. I would like to talk to the department head and see what they were originally planned for, what's left that we can repurpose, make some change. So
yeah, that makes sense. Greta, you were going to say something? Well,
just the little detail of if people are not participating in this program, as you saw from the spreadsheet we sent you, there were all kinds of penalties that municipalities use having to do with the size of your bin, with whether there was a bin there or not, etc. And what we are saying is, have I lost you?
No.
You're with us.
Anyway, what our approach to this is there will be no penalty except that people who have proven that they are composting in their backyard, or for some of the reason they're not even there and that they would not be putting their green bin out every single week, would have a special sticker on their trash bin that says this household is doing what is acceptable by this compost ban and go ahead and pick up my trash. However, if the green bin is not there and it does not have a sticker on the trash bin, we're proposing that the trash bin be left behind. It's a very simple way of saying either you separate it or you have permission to not put out a green bin. And there may be various reasons why people wouldn't need to. I'm expecting that about 5% of this town does their own composting and maybe just puts out bones once a month or something like that. So we just thought this was a punchless way of going about it, where nobody's fined. It's just that your trash can't be taken because we have no evidence that you're not taking the compost out of it.
At the risk of making this conversation go longer, I just want to remind or share a little history. Like, I remember growing up in Chelsea as a little boy that my grandmother's house had one of those cement-lined holes in the backyard where food waste would get dumped in. And, she would all during the week, she'd have a little paper half-gallon milk crate with a plastic bag inside. And she'd hold all the stuff in there until it was enough to bring it out to the thing. And so you had a trash truck that came and picked up solid waste. And then you had what they just referred to as the garbage man that would come and he would, take that bin out of the cement hole in the ground. And we're actually really going backwards the way we used to do this 50 years ago. And then that fell by the way. It wasn't deemed expedient or efficient or at the time it was expensive compared to just burning it. We've learned a lot in the last 50 years and we're going back to the old ways, which I just think is really funny. So.
One thing I want to just comment on Gradle, your idea that not picking up from people who don't put out their green container. You're absolutely right. There are people who do their own composting. So you have to be careful that you're not penalizing people who are actually composting.
Absolutely. And our intent is that those people would have a permit sticker on their trash bin, which says these people are doing the right thing vis-a-vis getting food out of the trash stream. That's all. We expect that it will take maybe several weeks for us to visit households that would like to have one of these stickers on their trash bin.
Any other comments? I think it seems like we're all in a moving forward direction. And
yeah, I mean, I've read the actual the wording on it. I think it's fine. I didn't really have any changes or edits to the one page. It's one page. Yeah, to the one page ban. So
yeah, I think it's kind of just talking. I mean, looking it over, just a good thorough look at it, and making some minor edits to it if we need to. But I think the bulk of it's going to be in the rollout and in the education of it.
Yeah.
And then before we kind of move on, I know we have Larry on the line. I know we have Larry Sargent on the line, and Larry was one of the proponents of the every week trash pickup, and we've since moved to that. We had it on our town meeting as a citizen's petition, and I don't want to speak for Larry, but I hear that Larry is satisfied that if we do this composting program and we stay there every other week and our numbers stay down, that he's okay with kind of keeping it as is and not moving forward with the citizen's petition.
Oh, you can speak for me. I actually already sent you guys that email stating that because I had reached out to.
Make sure it was public too.
That is fine. I concur. But I did reach out to Gretel when I first heard the proposal, and through my support behind it, I want people to remember the pushback was against losing weekly pickup. It was never anti-composting. So yeah, I think this is a great plan, and I'll do what I can to help spread the word.
Thank you. Thanks, Larry.
So the only, just off the top of my head, and we can talk about this afterwards. I know that you said, Sean, this is our first reading, but the only thing that I might suggest on the policy is, it's more than a policy. It'll be an ordinance of some sort. Yeah. Okay. So the proposal is maybe have a date definite to review and see if there are any changes. Maybe we could give it a 6-month introduction, and then plans specifically to review it after 6
It
months?
says
and
monthly. It says monthly in the plan, or we have the ability to review it monthly. So
Yeah,
we can
well,
change
okay.
that, but right now it's monthly.
Yeah, okay. I just think we should give it some time to get off the ground and to work out the bugs, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, okay,
And
so
I
that's
think
all.
to both your point, Rosie, and Bill's about the kind of time on review. I'm fine. I can't speak tonight. I think that keeping it on a monthly review, we could qualify that as just getting data on our tonnage and stuff like that. I don't think we have to discuss it every month at a Board of Selectmen meeting. But I think as long as the Waste Reduction Committee and we are getting that data kind of on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, and then if we do see a trend, after 6 months or a year or whatever we deem, then we can talk and adjust and do what we need to do with it. I mean, I think that seems feasible. All right, so
just to keep it on our plate, I think that's
Yeah.
was because we're always so busy. Anyhow.
Anything else before we move on to our next item on our agenda? I would just want to really thank the Waste Reduction Committee for all the work they've done.
Thank you.
And you've put a lot of time into this, and I'm glad that we're all looking very favorably on it. And I think it's the right thing to do. All right, up next on our agenda, we have a water.
By the way, Sean, sorry, that
Go ahead,
means
Ed.
I assume you guys can drop the citizens petition placeholder.
It has to stay on, right? But we just have to, it has to stay on the warrant, but it has to, we have to just announce at meeting it's been withdrawn. So I'm not sure who has to do that, Sean.
And it's up to you, Larry. We can, one of us on the board can say that we're going to take no action on it, or if you as the petitioner want to, it's really up to you.
Could I just interject real quick? Hey, you've already got that in the warrant. You've kind of finalized it. It's in there. So just to be clear, you could drop this if Larry wanted you to out of the warrant. It would require some more changes and stuff. Now you've already closed the warrant, but because it's not on the agenda, it's not on the warrant this time because of the petition. The petition was for the annual town meeting. Right. You agreed to sponsor it onto the warrant as it is. So technically you could drop it off if you wanted to, just to be for clarity's sake, but it's already there. We've already planned to print it and just make a motion for no action on the town meeting floor.
Okay, that's what we'll
do. We could, it's a little unprecedented, but we could reopen the warrant and then just take that one item off and then close it, and then we wouldn't have to worry about it even being on there.
Sean, I'd just like to let you also know, I have spoken with John Tognazzi, who oversees all the haulers, and he's very enthusiastic about seeing this program go forward. He says there would be no problem with his haulers helping us implement the program.
Great. And then I see Sharon Kashida is on. And Sharon, did you want to add anything tonight?
Well, I don't want to turn my camera on so you see how dirty the dirty dishes behind me. What I can say is that the RDP grant awards will be made this week. So you'll have that money very shortly after the town signs this grant agreement. And kudos once again to Hamilton at being forward thinking, but as you've all said, that everything is aligned for this to happen. You are perfectly poised to roll out this program because folks have options. So,
thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to the work of the Waste Reduction Committee.
For sure. Kudos.
And thanks for your support, Sharon.
All right. Back to the kind of conversation I kind of started to have about the warrant. Do we want to reopen and close?
I think we should ask Larry what he wants to do. Which does he think is the best solution out of respect for,
thanks.
his.
I'm fine if you guys want to do a quick open, close, and drop it. That's fine by me.
I would entertain a motion if somebody wanted to make it.
Sure, I'll make a motion that we reopen the warrant for the 2020 STM.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, we'll start with a roll call vote with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Darcy.
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie.
Jamie Knudsen, aye.
And Bill.
Sorry, I walked away.
That's all right.
What did you say?
We are reopening the warrant to take off the citizens petition for the trash.
Aye. William Olson, aye.
All right. I don't think we need much discussion on it.
You got to vote though, Sean.
What's that?
You have to vote.
Yes, we have to.
No, you have to.
You do.
Oh, I do.
To reopen the warrant.
Sean Farrell, aye. Thank you, Jamie. All right, so we've opened the warrant now. A motion to remove, and Joe, if you can tell us what article it is again, it's
3-3.
3-4, I believe.
let's make sure we get it right. We don't want to remove
I'm
something.
looking, looking for the warrant right now. Hold on.
Sorry.
3-4, 3-4, citizens petition to disposal of refuse and garbage.
Okay.
Anybody want to make a motion then?
I move that we vote to remove Article 3-4 from the warrant.
Second.
All right, and a roll call vote. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill.
William Olson, aye.
Darcy.
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie.
Amy Knudsen, aye.
And myself this time, Sean Farrell, aye. And then I'll entertain another motion to close the warrant.
Just could I, Sean?
Yeah, go
Bill
ahead.
Bowler here. Could I just, my understanding, maybe that the other citizens petition is also going to be voted no action. Is that correct? Or
that's a good point, Bill. I know Bill Heaney is on the line here today. I don't see him in front of the camera.
and if you're
If
cleaning
have
up
it
the
open, we
warrant,
might as well.
if you're cleaning up the
Birds with
warrant,
one stone.
this is the time to do it. So
Yeah, thank you for interjecting. So, Bill Heaney, do you want to add anything?
A little bit uncharted waters for me, Sean.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we need to leave it on based on what happened in Wenham. In Wenham, they tried to go no action and take it off. And Wenham pushed to have the vote. The vote happened. So I think we need to leave ours on.
By the way, I think that then this one's different from the other one in that this was a special, they got the required number of signatures to have a special town meeting just for this article. This one has to go on at this town meeting. You can't push this one off or anything like that. So I think you're better off leaving this one on the warrant and asking the proponents to move for no action at the town meeting floor and then see where it goes from there. But I think Bill's right that because this was specifically, they got the required number of signatures for a special town meeting. They met the timeline. You've got it on the warrant now. It should go forward. And if the proponents want to make the motion on town meeting floor for no action, that would be the right way to handle this article.
Okay. So
We should just close our warrant.
yeah, rewind a little bit. I can't remember if someone made a motion to close yet or not.
Did not, no.
If anybody wants to, they can.
I make a motion that we close the warrant.
Okay, a second.
Second.
And was there any discussion, Rosie, or were you just going to add to the?
No, I was just going to second. I think that's fine.
All right. We'll take a roll call vote. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill.
William Olson, aye.
Darcy.
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie.
Amy Knudsen, aye.
And myself, Sean Farrell, aye. All right. Thank you very much, Larry, and folks for allowing us to open that up again and remove that. All right. Next, we have a water abatement for 860 Bay Road, which was in your packets. It's for 320 something, I think. It seemed like a leaky toilet. Seems pretty boilerplate.
Mm-hmm.
I'd entertain a motion for that.
I move that we approve the, let's see, water abatement for 860 Bay Road.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on it? Seems like they used the trusted plumber.
Wow, good.
So I'll entertain a vote for all those in favor. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill Olson.
William Olson, aye.
Darcy.
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie.
Amy Knudsen, aye.
Myself, Sean Farrell, aye. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we talked about, Sean, was anything over under $100 we would put on the
right
on the I'm losing my word here.
Consent?
But the consent, yes, thanks, Rosie. But this was obviously $300, so we put it on here. But yeah, good to get the toilets fixed.
Yeah. All right. And then next on our agenda is vote to approve the pay scale for the public health nurse who we met tonight. And I think she's very qualified and is going to do a great job. Sad to be losing Chris Lee, but I think we're in good hands. And I'll entertain a motion, and then if anybody wants to second it, we can have any discussion if it's needed.
Sure, I'll make the motion that we increase the public health nurse salary based upon recommendation by our human resources director.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, we'll start with a roll call vote. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill Olson.
What?
William Olson, aye.
Darcy.
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie.
Jamie Knutson, aye.
Myself, Sean Farrell, aye. Cruising right along now, we have vote to authorize town manager to sign cemetery deeds. I'll give you just a brief background on this. We've approved a lot of cemetery deeds, but we haven't been around to sign any of them. So we've approved them, but there's a lot that haven't been signed, and this is to allow Joe to sign them in our absence.
If I could, this is not me trying to wrest power from the Board of Selectmen. This is only because since the pandemic began, you haven't been able to meet in person. As you know, the way cemetery deeds get approved is that we include them at the bottom of the warrant. I'm sorry, at the bottom of the agenda. And typically you don't even take a vote on them. You see that they're there, and then at the end of the meeting, everybody comes up and signs it. Well, none of you have been around to do that, and we're backing up here now till May, I think, since we've had them signed. So I actually need to do them. So we thought this might, Sean and I thought this might be an easier way to just handle this business until we are back meeting in person again. This isn't a permanent thing. It's a temporary solution to solve a paperwork problem.
Joe, have there been any hardships because of this for family?
Well, we had one last week that we weren't really even sure because it was a sudden death, and you guys had given me the permission independently. I got 5 separate emails that people approved of us moving forward with the sale of a cemetery plot, but not a lot of hardships. Just getting the paperwork right, just making sure all the paperwork matches up has been a concern.
So if anybody wants to make a motion in a second.
I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen authorize town manager to sign cemetery deeds that have been approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Temporarily until.
On a temporary basis until the state of emergency has been lifted.
Second.
All right. And a roll call vote for all those in favor. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill.
William Olson, aye.
Darcy.
Darcy Dale, aye.
Jamie.
Jamie Knutson, aye.
And myself, Sean Farrell, aye. All right, and up next, we have a special town meeting warrant hearing and vote. The meat and potatoes of tonight.
Yeah, the main thing for tonight. Let me find the document. So there's going to be a lot of red in it now. Got some good comments from. Am I talking? Can you guys hear me? Am I on? Or
I hear you.
Okay. We got some good comments from Rosie and from several of the department heads, and so we've made some changes. I'll be making a further change based on your taking Article 3-4 out here. I also have, if you want to see it, some drafts of the appendices, Appendix A for the capital plan and Appendix B for the town clerk's additional request for funds. And if you want to go to the top, Sean, you want me to go to the top and we'll just scroll through the document really quickly?
And Rosie, thank you so much. You had a lot of good edits on typos and different things like that. Much appreciated.
Happy to help.
Right. So in Article 1-1, based on the votes and the joint meeting with the FinCom last week, we've included 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 motions here, 7 articles here in the consent motion. None of them require more than a 50% majority. I think these were all agreed to by everybody at the meeting last week. And the good news about this is you've only got about 14 articles in the whole warrant. And if these all go, you're going to finish the whole town meeting with about 9 votes.
Perfect.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And I know, Mr. Bowler is still with us, but I can't see him on my screen. But Bill, if you want to chime in at any point in time with any questions or clarifications, by all means, interrupt.
Sure.
So we've got all of our articles for consent motion that we talked about at our last meeting, which is great. Hopefully that will trim some time. And I think with our automatic clickers, I think we're gonna hopefully have a speedy meeting. Prior year's bills, I don't think we have much change in that. And we'll just kind of, if it's all right, everybody, we'll kind of speed through some of these that we
The
already voted on,
FinCom
discussed.
Did the FinCom
Could I
meet?
just, on some of the, I think that may be the only one, but I think it might be helpful if in past warrants, when a vote's required more than, just a majority vote, it puts what votes required, and for
Yes.
the prior year bill for a special town meeting, it's 9/10.
9/10. Yeah, and I'd make sure, Joe, that to Bill's point there, if it's a 2/3 vote or if it's a 9/10 vote, that we should put that in the article.
So I know that recently we've been having them in the script. But you want it in the language of the article so that it gets mentioned. It's brought up in the script when the motion's made, what the percentages need. But if you want me to put it,
that's fine.
it's not a big deal. I can put it in here if you want. I just want to know what you want me to do.
What does the board feel? Do you want
Well,
it?
it wouldn't hurt.
Be in
I
the
don't think
summary,
it would hurt to put it in there. And some people
In the
might
summary,
not
yeah.
quite hear, it might be easier for them to read it.
Yeah, let's put it in the summary. I like
Summary, yeah.
that. I mean, we'll have it in the script and it will be in the summary. Just so, we want it to be as clear as possible for people.
Yes.
We're trying to make it easy for people to understand and digest it all.
All right, got it. I added it right there for this one. And on this item, I believe we're waiting for the FinCom to get back to me, hopefully Thursday morning, first thing, with what their vote was.
Right, Bill, the FinCom meets on Wednesday, so that's when we'll finalize everything.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nick. 2-2 capital expenditures. We talked about this quite a bit at our last meeting with FinCom and kind of went through it, not quite line by line, but we talked about things that were dropping off and things that we're keeping on there.
Can you see this now?
Yep, we can see it.
This is a table I developed today.
No, we can still see the warrant.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about seeing the warrant.
Yeah, no problem. This was a table I developed today that if the board wants, will be included as Appendix A. The items in blue. So it's color coded, shows how things are. It includes all the items in the capital program, including the town hall and the water treatment plant, but outlines what is what as far as votes. So in the blue, you have the total free cash vote is $415,000, which relates to the article in the warrant there. So
I like the color coding.
Did you send this to us, Joe?
I didn't because I didn't finish it until 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay.
I've been trying to make sure I got it all right and that all the numbers worked. I didn't want to mess it up. So, but I can share this to you right away after the vote tonight. So.
And
Joe?
To the FinCom as well, please.
Yes, I will, Nick. Nick and Christina, yes, I'll get that right out to you guys tonight as well.
And color coding.
And Joe, refresh my memory. I thought the library roof wasn't.
So it's not in the capital program as far as like a free cash expenditure, but you'll notice over here, it's an operational budget, right? Okay. So the other things that we had quote unquote taken out of the capital program, they're still being done. The water meter replacement, all right, the library roof and the library server, their ballistic vests in the fire department are being done, but they're being handled within the operational funds that we had set aside in the budget. So that's I had that there. So people, including the capital committee's been asking, well, we approved these things. What's happening with them? They're still happening. They're there. The only thing that didn't get funded is what's in red.
Right.
The water supply feasibility study for $100,000 was the one thing that was in the capital program that didn't get funded in anywhere in this warrant.
Okay.
Joe, and my only question to you is why does it say cost 5.3 million? The ask.
So that was Rosie. You remember that because of the additional, if it's all only an estimate, and that's based on the estimators after the Architectural Access Board required us to add a secondary means of egress from the first floor. So
right.
So
that cost is that cost is about 35,000. So they asked,
I'll clarify this number tomorrow with Tim. I've been told by Tim that the new estimate is 5.3, not 4.8. So I changed that today. I will clarify that, and I won't send this to anybody until I'm sure what that is.
okay, just because if it was going to need to be clarified, I'd rather go down rather than up, because I want to make sure. Okay, thank you, Joe.
This number's always bothered me because we're going to know the number on when it comes to the day of the special town meeting, but in the warrant, because we're printing the warrant 2 weeks before the meeting, and we won't have all the bids open until after that, we don't have a real number here. This is an estimate.
Right.
And so I did say, I do have an asterisk here that says request shown here is an estimate as of the time of the printing of the warrant. The actual request will be discussed on town meeting floor after competitive bids are opened.
Okay.
Okay.
So, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. No problem.
And I would just make sure, Joe, on that. Sorry, Darcy. I just want to say, and then I'll let you talk on that. Just make sure that you can see the asterisk on the 5.3 million there. I couldn't see it in your document there. So,
all right, I'll make sure it comes up. Yep.
All right. Sorry, Darcy. Go ahead.
Joe, could it be used as a not to exceed figure?
Well, we could certainly
know.
Yeah, we could certainly make it that way, or we could make it that way in the script when we go to have the actual motion that gets read on. The item to be raised in bonding would not exceed X.
But it could be less than that.
Could be less than that. Yeah, we could do that.
Right, and typically that's how we introduce some of those things that we've estimated. It's a not to exceed this number. We're kind of saying this is the worst case scenario.
Top line.
All right.
But just to reiterate again, so far things are looking very much on point for the estimate. So I don't want to freak people out by having a number that's maybe 500,000 more than what we're estimating.
Right. Okay.
All right. So I think that we covered capital expenditures. Now 2-3 was our water treatment,
which is also in the capital expenditures. So that'll be in
the capital.
Yeah.
And we voted on that.
Yeah. Waiting on the FinCom vote on that as well.
2-4 was our pool revolving fund. We did speak to that one. And that was just kind of $820 or something, right?
Yeah, $800, $820.75. So, and we're waiting on the FinCom vote on that one, but otherwise this article's in pretty good shape. And it's the first article into our consent motion.
Right. And then CPC, the housing grant, we talked about that. We had a handful of questions on that.
Yeah, but I think this is cleaned up now. I had no comments from Patrick or Marissa on this one. They were satisfied with the wording of the item here now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
All right. 2-6 was our first or our second CPC for the church clock and belfry.
Right. This we've got a change here. It had previously said undesignated account. It's really the historic reserve account, so that properly identifies where in the CPC buckets of funding this would be funded out of.
And did we vote at this at our last meeting?
No, it should be highlighted yellow.
All right. So I'm hoping you're going to vote now, though. So one way or the other, I don't care what the vote is. I just
Joe's got no skin in the game, but he's pushing the point. So do you want to have a discussion right now about it, everybody, and we can take a vote on it? So we discussed it a little bit last time. So if anybody wants to kind of.
Well, the only follow-up was going to be someone's going to talk with the manager of the facility about, if the town wanted to have a.
Yes, and I apologize. I didn't forward the email, but I got an email from, and it escapes me, but they do open to the public pretty much at any time, and they host a lot of different meetings. They do Girl Scouts there and Boy Scouts and other community groups, and a handful, and they are always welcoming. So that wasn't kind of a question of, if we wanted to use the building for some type of a thing, they would be more than accommodating to us. I think that was one of the questions that was raised. I apologize for not forwarding that email, but that was the gist of it.
And the prior authorization from a number of years ago was for $11,000 for the prior.
Right.
that was done.
Yeah, that's, I really balk at going to 120, was it 120,000?
75.
Was
They asked
121
for
to start
120.
with.
They
Yeah.
asked for
Oh, I
120.
see, okay.
They're only offering 75 now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had originally asked for 120 or 100. It was 120 and then 116, and I
Yeah.
think we settled on 75.
Yeah.
That's still really rich for my blood, but it just seems like a lot. It's
Yeah, I've gone back and forth, and I think my opinion right now is it's not a hard no, but it's not this time. So if you want to come front with it again, I think I need to think about it a little bit longer and think about other asks. I know, like, you didn't have, like you said, there weren't a lot of asks on the board right now, but there's no sunset clause. We need to spend all the money by a certain amount of time. So,
But
it's still
there's
going to go in front of the town to vote on it. So my no doesn't mean it doesn't pass. I'm not ready to vote yes now.
You could abstain too.
Yeah. So I'll probably abstain today because I think it should go in front of the community to vote on. I think it's an important building, but I'm still not there yet on sort of non-public buildings getting taxpayer funded repairs. So I will I'm going to abstain, but I think it should go in front of the town to vote. I think it's important that the town votes on it, but I'm not ready to vote favorable action myself.
So Bill, I'll just ask you this. Why not just vote no? Why abstaining? Just so I understand.
Because I still think it's important to for the town to vote on it, right? And I'm not, like I said, I said not a no. I'm only saying no. Sorry, my comment was it's not a no, it's a not yet, right? I'm just, this year at this time, it's probably not the right place to spend $75,000. So
there's no rule that says we have to spend that money. It can sit in the CPC and gather interest, in case something else comes along that's more important to the town.
Right.
Like town hall.
But I appreciate a lot of work went into it. A lot of thought, a lot of discussion. So, I don't want it to be a no that I'm saying that this is a horrible idea. I'm just, me personally, I'm not going to take a hard stand on it.
So if I'm kind of inferring here, I guess, and I haven't heard from Jamie, but I would entertain a thought from Jamie, but I'll just say that it kind of seems that we could have some more discussion about it, but I think everyone's kind of got their own yay, nay, or abstain in their pocket already. And I don't know if much discussion would change it. So we could have a vote on it tonight and just vote the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. Unless Jamie, do you have anything to add? I can't see on my screen, but.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is that, it does seem like a fairly high amount of money. I'd be, and where it is, yeah, I mean, where it's, a church, which I, religious person myself, went to Hamilton Congregational for quite a while. So it's not about them, because I applaud them as a citizen of the community, but just that amount of money, proportion of the project, the overall project. I don't know. It doesn't strike me as something I'd vote.
I think if it was more in the 10 or 11,000 range, I would be more comfortable with it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we've had, and I think of the community houses grant last time around that they asked, it was amended on the floor. We can't ask for more, but we can always ask for less by anyone in the citizenry who wants to stand up and amend the motion. So that's always a possibility too. If people at town meeting think it's a worthy project, but they think that 75 is too much, they have that prerogative to amend it.
I will add my 2 cents to this, that I think Darcy has been saying for a while how important it is that we prioritize our finite financial resources to things that are really integral to the town. And I can't disagree with that. I mean, I think the church is beautiful. It's very historic. I love the belfry, I love the clock. But on the other hand, we can't take on responsibility for everything, every issue in town. So I guess I'm.
You know, they could do some fundraising and maybe it might take a little bit longer to get the money up, but they could have a program, you know, with a thermometer out front and people could watch it go up to the value.
Clock tower, not a thermometer, a clock tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're already kind of that if this is granted, they still have about 50,000 or so to raise. So you know, they're basically raising about half of the money.
Yeah, but you know something, also in their defense, they're a very robust church community. They have just a huge, it seems, congregation, and so maybe they could look to them for this. Not that I don't support it in principle, because I agree. It's a beautiful, a lot of the history is quite compelling to me.
So
can I make a motion?
Don't make me go first this time.
All right, Darcy, go ahead.
I make a motion that we vote on the, wait a minute. I get my, on the, what is that now? I can't see.
Community Preservation, First Congregation Church Clock and Belfry.
Is there a number? Is it
75,000.
I just see it.
2-6.
Okay, I make a motion that we vote on the Community Preservation First Congregational Church Clock and Belfry 2-6.
Second.
And we'll take a roll call. I won't start with Rosie. I'll start with Jamie.
Jamie Knudsen, unfavorable action.
Okay. Bill Olson.
Unfavorable action.
All right. Darcy.
Darcy Dale, nay.
Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, nay.
And myself, Sean Farrell, I'll be the one that says yes.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one.
It is a hard one. I struggle with it too.
Yeah.
You know, I keep going back to the historical nature of the building, including the church.
Too.
That's what pushes it into the yes for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to just want to call attention to the fact that this is the Board of Selectmen recommends 4-1 unfavorable action.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay.
All right. 2-7, our last CPC item, which is the bonding of the 3,000 for the restoration of Town Hall, or at least the historical
3 million.
portion, what the CPC can cover.
3 million, not 3,000.
Oh yeah, 3,000. 3 million.
3 million.
I think they would be not too happy if we gave them 3,000.
Shall I make a motion?
I thought we voted on this.
We voted on this one. It was just kind of clarifying some of the details of it, I think. But we can vote on it again if you want to, Darcy.
I think this was the last item from the last meeting that the FinCon did not vote. If I recollect, at this point, it was about this point that Valerie joined them and they started voting on the 19th. So I think this is.
Because we both voted.
Joe, you can
unhighlight that because we both voted.
Oh, they did vote. Okay.
Yeah,
that was what we appreciate, that everybody was in favor of it. So
Right.
Okay. All right.
Can I make just a quick comment about this? It was one of the comments I sent. $3 million is a boatload of money, and I'm a little uncomfortable with us asking the citizenry to approve this without any real without the presentation. So I'm wondering if this, I don't know, somehow could be put after the presentation about the town hall. I think it's.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I agree. We talked about, it's going to be one discussion.
We'll do kind of and depending whether Jay Butler comes or not to the meeting, I'll probably be the one doing it if Jay's not there. And my thought, and Mr. Bowler's online here too, is that we would do the first 2 CPC articles, do the presentation for both of those. And then after that, before the CPC vote and the next one after the CPC vote for town hall, we would do the presentation before the CPC vote and then the town hall vote. So it would come right before those 2 articles.
Could I make a recommendation that in the script, we ask, or we anticipate that a member of either the Board of Selectmen or the FinCom or the CPC, doesn't matter to me, or the Town Hall Building Committee, make a motion that the town meeting hear about Article 2-7 and 2-8 together, and then vote each of them separately once the presentations are made. So it'll be clear to everybody that these two are tied together. We're going to give you a presentation, then we're going to ask you to vote on both parts of it, and have it done that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that's really good. That it's respecting the integrity of town meeting.
Right.
Because if somebody said, "Oh, just vote 3 million," are you crazy? I think
without knowing.
Right. And I think too, Joe, in that kind of information bit, we should also stress the ballot as well.
Yes, December
The
3rd.
voting that next article is basically getting it on the ballot. It's not, it's you're voting for it, but you really have to vote for it on the ballot.
Right.
So Sean, if Jay doesn't come, you're going to do the CPC presentation?
Correct.
Okay, so just Darcy and I are members of the Town Hall Building Committee. I think either one of us, I'm going to volunteer, Darcy, either you or myself, to just make that 10-second introduction.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Christina Shank-Hargrove said that she checked her notes and showed that FinCom did not vote on 2-7.
She wrote did vote.
Did
vote.
Did? Okay.
Did vote.
It's my vision then.
That's okay.
Okay.
I have the same problem, Darcy. Mr. Bowler, if Mr. Bowler is still here, I just want to get his consent.
I'm here.
My 2-7-2-8 proposal.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, we want to make it as clear as possible.
On 2-8 though, my issue with 2-8 is that it did go up $500,000 after we voted on it. So, and so I'm a little confused about that.
But no, it hasn't, because we don't have the estimates in yet. All we have are the subcontractors.
No, I
listed.
know, but the estimated, the expected request went from
Oh, I
4.8 to 5.3.
But I don't see why it would have done that, because nothing has changed in the estimates.
I'm just going by what I was told by the people running the Town Hall Building Committee. So I will turn
Well, we're
back
having a meeting tomorrow, so we should clarify that.
Yeah.
Let's clarify it.
Well,
and let me
I'm
know.
obviously still in favor of it, but when we did the whole save the staircase, debate, one of the things was that architect convinced us that they could convince the ADA board that they would make the back entry more of a front type entry, so that would be the main entry to the building. And now if we have to do 2 ADA entrances, it seems sort of a waste of our taxpayer money. So I'm not quite sure if that's a guess or if that's.
Let me tell you, Bill, the ADA would want 3 handicap access. So 2 out of 3. I
So
mean,
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Is that what I should be happy with?
You
2 out
should-
of 3.
I mean,
you should be very
really.
happy. This was really, really
Quite
tenuous.
a compromise,
We didn't know
right?
what was going to happen. And
I was-
fortunately, but the people in Boston have given us their blessing, and we should take it and run
Okay,
with
all
it.
right. Well, I will trust your words then, because that's different what we had talked about, 6-8 months ago.
Right.
But thank you for
Yep.
so
But
hard
yeah,
work. So hard work went into it, and this was our
Yes.
compromise.
Right.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I sat in at that meeting, and they were quite adamant. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
This is good because it keeps us from having to add a ramp on the front stairs, which is what
That's
they
right.
really wanted.
Right,
Come on.
exactly.
All right.
Their point is that the front is the entrance to the building, and that entrance should always be handicapped accessible.
Even though
Except
the
that
parking
nobody
lot's in the
uses it
back.
that way. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, even though the parking lot's in the back, to Bill's point.
All right. Well, I guess so it is. You'll clarify that, but hopefully it's not
I'll
5.
clarify that, make
Hopefully
those
that
numbers
wasn't
right in here.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
2-9 was our software. We all voted in favor of that.
Yep.
And that, I believe, is on our consent.
Yep.
And then election, equipment and staffing, 2-10. I believe that's on our consent as well.
It is, Joe. I'm going to show you the, real quick, I'll show you the appendix that we've created for that as well. So, am I not sharing? What the heck? Should
I don't
Yeah.
see anything.
Okay, hold on, I'm trying to get there. I created this table today too, because Corinne's table was much longer, much bigger. So,
can imagine.
So this identifies the categories that resulted in the additional costs and then totals out to the number being requested, 29,785. So a lot, you can see it's a lot of in-person early voting, additional costs caused by COVID. There are some staffing and supply costs, but there's a typo in this one. But this is largely what we're looking at, and we'll include this in as Appendix B.
And we had talked the last meeting about the possibility of free cash for this, but after much more deliberation, we thought this is more of a to come as a regular basis. So we didn't do free cash.
Joe, on the special election cost line, I think you want to say caused by COVID-19, right?
Caused, yeah. Yeah,
we don't want it causing COVID-19.
No.
Good catch, Jamie.
Although there are some people that would like to blame it on that. Yeah, there we go. All right.
Keep
Thank
moving.
Hey,
good catch, Jamie.
let's go back to our warrant. Okay. Here we go. Okay.
All right. So that was 2-10. So 2-11 was our retirement. And we had discussed that we had someone retire past the time when we had planned for it. And so that was going to go into our consent agenda. 2-12. And this was for master plan monies. And thank you to Christina Shankar-Grove. We turned the corner on this one and wanted favorable action on it.
FinCom has not voted on it yet.
And FinCom has not voted on it yet.
They will on Wednesday.
And our Council on Aging bylaw, we talked about that one.
I think both voted on this one.
Yeah.
We voted for sure. I just don't know if FinCom did, but I think they did.
I think they did as well. And then our home rule petition with the tax exemptions we voted on.
Yeah. There's a new at the back of this. There's a brand new Appendix C that outlines what all the changes are. I think Rosie had some things that you wanted to bring up on this. Rosie, I know you had a question about household income in Section 5, why that was relevant.
Yeah.
That actually makes it consistent with other state and federal programs for tax exemptions. You generally, in order to qualify, you have to show household income. That now, if you have two people that are living in the household, the threshold becomes a little higher, two earners. But it's always been a household income that we're inconsistent with other tax exemption and housing subsidies by not having that there. That's part of the reason.
Okay, and the way around that is it's two separate households. So I just had sort of an issue. Why is maybe somebody who's this is just my issue with it. Why is somebody who's just maybe like a daughter living there for 6 months or something like that? She's her own household and her income doesn't affect what's on the deed. And that kind of bothers me because the person who's getting the exemption is the person whose name is on the deed. So I see what you're saying, but you can also, people can get around that. And I mean this most respectfully by incurring two households and not just one.
So the that item would be handled where if it was only temporary, if a daughter had moved in for 6 months or something to help out, that her income wouldn't be counted at that point. It's only for permanent residents. It's all household income of permanent residents living in the house. Right. That it protects against, say, the person whose name is on the deed is on a fixed income, but their son who makes 6 figures and has a whole bunch of land in Florida moves into the house, and now they're saying that they need the tax exemption, even though the son is there and actually handling all the bills and taking over the property. That would then.
That's being a household member. Yep.
Okay. So just a.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Got to close those loopholes.
Yeah.
Well,
Joe, do you know how many people are part of this program in Hamilton? Round numbers.
Between 40 and 50. It's been a fairly consistent number since you started doing it. I will say that the vast majority of the people that participate in this program are indeed needing the program and are going to qualify easily under these changes. There may be one or two who once we institute a little bit better, more rigorous standards on how to qualify, there may be one or two that won't qualify. But then again, they may be getting an exemption that they're probably not really entitled to for what the intent of the law was.
Right.
Right. Okay.
All right, go back up to, where does that leave us? 3-3, lease of temporary town hall. I had a recommendation from our DPW director that to be clear here that it's being offered to us rent-free, but we will pay for utilities. So we added the language in right here, just so people don't think that we pulled one over on them.
And also the town will be responsible for renovations. That's kind of a basic statement. Shouldn't it be the town will be responsible for the cost of renovations and improvements to the building pertaining to the town's temporary residency there?
Yeah, I agree.
Or some such wording.
Yeah, we don't want to make it seem like we're renovating the building.
Because that's exactly what it says, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I suggested that.
Joe, for clarity's sake, it is not free. It is $1 a year.
Good add.
It's not a huge number, but it's just what.
Yeah.
No, because the lease is for a dollar, right? So.
I don't know if it's important, but it's a 2-year lease. So we have to pay $2.
It says $1 per year, so that's fine.
It says $1 per year, and if for some reason we fail to appropriate the $1 in the second year, I'll pay it out of my pocket.
They'll hold you to that.
Well, at least the dollar rental will bring a smile at people's faces at town meeting if they're paying attention.
That's true. That's very true.
All right, 3-4 we've removed, and now the new 3-4 will be Bill Heaney's citizens petition.
Did Bill make it to the whole thing with us? Is he here?
Mr. Heaney, are you with us still?
I don't think so.
Let me check the participants here.
Oh, he's there. There he is.
I'm here. I'm just over on the side working on my books.
You made it. So we're up to your article in the warrant, Bill, and basically just if you can give us the kind of version of taking no action or what things would have to change for you to want to take action, kind of give us a state of the union on your part.
So our article just passed in Wenham last month by a very narrow margin. I think right now we're at no action. We kind of want to see where the superintendent goes and the school committee goes. For now, we're good with what we've accomplished. But depending on where things go in the next month or so, it could change. It's a bit of a moving target. And I think the warrant's on there, and we might just have to see where it goes.
All right. And then I guess the question I'd ask is just to you, if it seems like things are going south for your group there, that you'll keep us in the loop so that we can kind of figure out timing and information and other items like that with town meeting.
Absolutely. I haven't really done a whole lot with it. We did watch the Wenham meeting closely, and we talked a little bit after that. And I think we're in a good shape. I think everything's trending in a positive direction. We just kind of want to keep it there.
What would cause it, I guess, to go south for you?
Well, if the schools went back to full remote.
Right, and that would be based on the matrix that you haven't proposed.
Correct. If they went back to full remote based on different matrix. We're not really proposing matrix. All we're asking.
Yeah, I guess that's the wrong word, but
follow DESI guidance.
Right, the DESI guidelines.
Correct.
CDC, etc. Okay.
The baseline is I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical expert, but I think the CDC, the DESI, American Pediatricians Association, and the Massachusetts Pediatricians Association has spoken, and everybody's pretty clear to get these kids back in school as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. So as long as we're working towards that goal, I think we're happy. When we get metrics that are different or create confusion or higher standards, that's where we have an issue.
Right. And I think to opine for a second here about my situation, I'm remote teaching now because kids and adults in North Andover couldn't play by the rules and had several large gatherings and several outbreaks. So, you know, our numbers went way up enough to make us remote for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully this was a lesson for all those people who have been non-complying and not wearing masks and not social distancing, that this can happen at any moment and get out of control real quick. So, you know, I hope that everyone's doing their due diligence. All of our kids and parents are taking it seriously so that we do remain in school, because we have little or no numbers in Hamilton at the moment. And it would be great if it stayed that way so that we could, you know, roll out this school year and have it be successful and not be at home. My 2 cents, sorry.
Bravo.
So what else, Joe? Was that our last ticket item there?
That was our last item on the agenda, on the warrant. So we'll, based on this tonight and the votes from the FinCom that I'm still waiting on, I'll accept all these changes and then just change the votes from the FinCom, and we'll have a document ready to go to the printer by Friday.
Okay.
I anticipate, and Nick and Christina, if they're still on, they could confirm for me, but I believe that the FinCom is planning to present to me by Thursday afternoon their book of recommendations as well. So that'll all go to the printers Friday morning.
Yes, absolutely. We have that as our deadline.
Thank you.
And then one last thing before we stop discussing the warrant. Did we take any vote on Mr. Heaney's article at our last meeting?
You did not. I don't believe we didn't. We left this here. This language is not reflective of a vote. It's in there because we just copied it from the other one we got rid of that we were going to plan to have you guys recommend favorable action. So that's nothing, Bill. We just copy and paste it from the article above it.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be, since this is kind of, it seems like it hopefully isn't a game time decision, but I normally don't like to wait until town meeting to make a recommendation, but this, I think, is a case where I would be okay waiting the town meeting to make a recommendation and hopefully to take no action. But it's up to the board. If you want to vote on anything tonight, I'd entertain it.
I agree with your position on this, Sean. It's advisory,
right,
but we also support the underlying principles of this, or at least I should speak for myself. I do. So yeah, I think that it's perfectly reasonable to wait.
I agree.
And then Jamie and Bill, do you agree with that? Bill Olson?
Yeah, I'm fine either way. I just think that what that means, we need to put a board of selectmen meeting for 15 minutes before the
Well, you can have a meeting on the 9th. You could always, if you feel like you've got enough understanding of what might happen, you could try to make a vote on 11/9, or you could meet prior to town meeting that day.
Let's put it on for the 9th and see what happens. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's pretty close. We could revisit it then.
And we'll have more information.
Yeah.
By then as well.
And Joe, forgive me because I can't see the top of the screen here, but do you have it written in there that it's an advisory vote?
It's right at the end of the summary.
Yeah, on the summary, any action taken here is considered advisory in nature.
I guess I should read what's in front of me then.
Don't worry, it's late.
All right. And with that said, I think we could probably move on to our next article, if that's, or our next warrant agenda item.
Yeah,
we don't need to make any motion to close that out, right? That was just discussion.
Nope, just discussion. And Bill, you're welcome to stay with us and learn a whole lot about adopting roads if you want to, but you don't have to. And Mr. Bowler, do you have any closing comments for tonight?
No, but could I just clarify with Joe? So is it that you and I and David and Sean gonna powwow on, I guess I shouldn't say powwow, that's not PC, but
parlay maybe.
We're gonna get together on Friday and decide on the venue?
I believe that's right.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, it's in the moderator's hands to move it. So, but I think, yeah, it would be great for you guys all all chat briefly on Monday. I'll set up a Friday morning, okay, to set up a brief Zoom?
Yeah, the Friday, most of the day, actually, is the annual mass moderators meeting, which will be Zooming. So, but, I can Zoom in and out. So.
Okay. All right, I'll get a proposal to have a meeting Friday morning. I'm pretty open, I think, that morning, except I get one thing at 10:30, so we can either do it at 9 o'clock or at 11.
11 would
9
work
o'clock.
better for me.
Okay.
11 would be
good.
better. All right.
11 would be best for me.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
All right. While Joe's closing out of that, our last item is the second reading of the converting private ways policy. Joe's hopefully going to put it up here for us.
Yeah, it's right there, and it's not. I don't know if section 14 is in there. Oh, it is right there. There we go. Okay, this was added. This is added at your request by added language from our from KP Law from Lee Smith for how a developer would have a private way accepted, which is not as likely to happen, but something that could happen. So,
right, we want to make sure we cover all our bases.
Yep.
So let's have a little discussion about this new clause in here, and then Bill Olson and I had a conversation, and I believe maybe Joe was involved in it too, about the 75% number, and I think Rosie brought it up last time.
Yeah.
And do we want to start with that and then work our way down, or do we want to?
I think Rosier's Darcy had said just make it 100%. We went back and forth, and we agree with you. We made it 100%.
Yeah, we thought
that
a little
means
bit
they
more
can
about
work
it
out amongst themselves before they come to us. So
right, it's too mushy this way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and this way it's if they get basically someone to sign off on it, that fine, do it, and then they can work out who's paying for it. If that person wants to sign the document but not pay for it, that's all up to them to work out.
And it causes us a lot of unnecessary work and perhaps legal entanglement.
Yeah,
we don't want to be negotiators, right?
Yeah, we don't want to be negotiators and solve the neighborhood's problems. So
otherwise, I will say I think the rest of it is really well constructed. The language seems pretty good to my eyes, but obviously everybody else needs to decide.
I want to do here, but with the changes we got, do you want to vote on it tonight, or do you want to have everybody read it one more time and vote on the night?
Let's just look at the new section.
Yeah, I think we can go through it. We can see all the highlighted stuff that's changed. It's all pretty straightforward.
Yeah, let's read the paragraph that Joe was talking about.
Yeah, the new one. Okay.
So Joe, can you just walk us through this again?
Yeah, so Bill, I believe it was you that raised the possibility that a developer would come and want to take a street that they had just finished constructing under their site plan review permit and they may say to you, well, we've decided I want this to be a public street, not a private way. This is going to be to add language so that they know what the process is. The process is that, it says here, you want me to read it out loud? As an alternative to post-construction improvement to private streets as described above, a party seeking to construct a street, hereinafter a developer, may propose to construct the street and all necessary improvements related thereto in accordance with the standards and requirements for streets as set forth in the town's subdivision regulations. If the street is constructed in accordance with such standards, requirements, and permits, the developer may request that the town accept the street as a public way in accordance with the applicable sections of this policy and in accordance with state and local law. The Board of Selectmen may determine whether the conveyance of the street in any pertinent property shall be in a fee or by easement. All costs and expenses associated with the way, including without limitation, design, engineering, survey, permitting, bonding, construction, title, conveyance, and town council fees shall be the sole responsibility of the developer. The town may withhold in whole or in part the release of a performance guarantee, regardless of form, until the acceptance of street as a public way has been completed as determined by town council.
So that gives us some leverage.
Certainly, it does with the developer, yeah.
Yeah.
So why at the end does it say town council? Why does it say Board of Selectmen? Because the Board of Selectmen includes the town council, right?
Yeah.
We're overreaching of the town council and the town manager, and so if the town council says it's fine, but we say it's not, then all of a sudden we lose our rights to sort of. Right.
Yeah, that was the only thing that kind of struck me was the end there.
Town council isn't a town authority to make a decision.
Yeah.
Joe, spelling.
I don't want to throw you under the bus, Joe, but my favorite part about your reply to Rosie was your typo in your reply to Rosie.
My reply to Rosie.
Yeah. If we decided to consult our council to make that determination, that's up to us.
Yeah. And there's one other there's one other issue. The town may withhold in whole or in part the release of a performance guarantee until the acceptance has been completed. Why wouldn't we withhold the performance guarantee? Shouldn't that be the town shall withhold? Let's put some meat into this policy.
That's our leverage. That's all we have.
Exactly.
You still, as the Board of Selectmen, have that leverage if you want it. You're not allowing any future Board of Selectmen any flexibility whatsoever. If you say shall,
it doesn't take away your ability. Just gives flexibility, which is always good to build flexibility into the. But yeah, it doesn't take away our ability to do it. It just builds in flexibility. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't care where it's shall or may, but the reason it says may is because it gives flexibility.
But any board in the future, I feel that we're building rules here. We're letting developers know that these are the expectations. And in the future, if somebody decides that they want to be more flexible, I think we've seen a lot of problems with developers recently in this town. And I would like to see us hold them accountable in as many ways as we can. So
Jamie, thoughts? Shall or may? Being a council yourself?
I tend to say I'd leave it with may because it doesn't, it still gives us the flexibility, as everyone has already said. And I don't think it takes anything away from it.
I do. Okay.
What flexible for what purposes though? I mean, what are they talking about when you guys say flexibility? What do you mean? To allow them to escape responsibility?
Well, I don't know. So I am an attorney, but no, I don't do real estate development. So don't.
Well, they're going to be looking for loopholes everywhere they can.
I don't think it's a loophole. I think it gives the town Board of Selectmen the ability to release in part a performance guarantee. I don't, if it affects the developer's ability to get the project completed.
The problem with the
I just don't think it doesn't necessarily add anything.
Right.
Yeah. The problem with shall is that with the shall, you can't have or.
Right.
Because the may gives you flexibility of doing a whole or in parts. You'd have to be the town shall withhold in whole the release. So you can't have the word shall and or. So
you shall withhold in whole or in part. So there's the flexibility. But why wouldn't we hold them accountable? Why wouldn't we?
I'm saying we wouldn't. I'm saying that I think this is written correctly as a legal. I trust how it was written. I think it's written correctly. I don't think it does any of the stuff you're saying it does. I think it's the right legal way to write the phrase. And so that's all I'm saying.
No, it's not the only way to write it.
Right. No, but my opinion is it is, and so that's why I don't think. I'm trying not to give any advantage to the developer. It's not my point, but I'm saying I agree with the language. So
it's not to take advantage of a developer. It's to protect the town. That's and if we make that a rule. If we make it a rule, then it's the expectation that they will be expected to complete the work to a substantial degree before a performance guarantee is released. I think that's a prudent thing to do to protect the town. So
I agree. It's all about protecting the town, not the developer.
Yeah, I think there's still, that's what I'm telling you. I think this is the right way to write the sentence to protect the town. So I don't think it doesn't, nothing in here that I read does not protect the town. That was my point. So I think we should still hold any developer or anybody who seeks this accountable. And I don't think that, I mean, once again, it's not a big deal for me either way. I just don't, I'd have to go back and ask KP Law to look at it again. What difference between
Well,
shall
it just,
and may will
it
make,
just
so.
means that it's the Board of Selectmen's discretion whether to release the performance guarantee. And, you know, a developer can come in and give you a story as to why it should be released. But I say we need to hold their feet to the fire.
Well, okay, you're right. A developer could come in and give a story, and the Board of Selectmen could still turn them down. Or the developer could come in with a real hardship and be looking for a little bit of assistance to complete the process. And now, if you change that to shall, you don't have any ability to help at all.
Right. It's locked in.
Right, as it should be, because if a developer doesn't watch his finances.
Well, if I could, with all due respect, if I could, you're really trying to protect the town from future boards of selectmen decisions, not from the developers.
But
you're trying to tie the hands of future boards of selectmen.
Yeah.
And any select board can change the wording in it. They don't. It's you know, we talk about these documents as being living documents. You know, I think about all the things that have been done that have been unilateral changes that have been harmful to the town. I think of that giant building at 227 Willow.
Right.
The word may or shall wouldn't have changed that. So that's why I'm saying it's a
Well,
non-issue.
yes, it would, because it wouldn't have been his, presuming he had a performance guarantee, it wouldn't have been released until he adhered to the special permit based on what was granted by the planning board and didn't just make his own rules.
Right. We're getting a little off topic. So
Yeah,
well, it's
I think it's relevant, but I don't want to go too
So-
far astray. I agree that you know,
Well,
we've got some past issues. Go ahead, Jamie.
Let me throw this out, maybe arguing against myself, but
That's fine.
let's say you change it to shall. I mean, in some ways, it doesn't really change the meaning that much, because if you say you shall withhold in part, I mean, you could release all of it, but $2 worth of performance guarantee.
That's why I'm saying it makes no difference.
Right.
That's exactly my point, Jamie. That's why you can't have shall and or in part, because it doesn't have any meat, because you can still release 99% of it.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why it's not worth changing the word, because it just
You're looking for?
is not. What's that?
Isn't that the flexibility you're looking for?
It's the same flexibility. That's just confusing.
The change of the may to shall, because it's either whole or part. It could
Legally,
be
this is written correctly. The shall doesn't do anything other than makes it confusing, because you're using a very firm word, 5 words in front of a very non-firm word. You can't have shall and or in the same sentence legally. It's very confusing.
Mechanism that we can employ to make sure that the town is protected. We don't get stuck with redoing streets.
This protects us. This protects us. This clause protects us. That's what I understand. This clause protects the town.
Right.
So then why have a performance guarantee at all if you're going to say we can release it? That's sort of my question. Isn't a performance guarantee?
Then you'd have to then Rosie, what you're suggesting is writing the town shall withhold in whole the release of performance guarantee. That's what you're suggesting.
Until the work is substantially
No,
completed.
but I'm saying, so you're taking out the word may and changing it to shall, and you're taking out the word or in part. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a different discussion.
So what? Right? What's the point of having a performance guarantee? Isn't that the purpose of a performance guarantee?
Hold their feet to the fire.
But I actually think this is stricter than that, because this says you may withhold in whole or in part the release of a performance guarantee until the acceptance of the street as a public way has been completed.
Right.
So that you're saying that not just, you were just said a minute ago, Rosie, that, in substantial completion, This isn't substantial completion. That's until the entire process is done.
Right.
All
As
votes have been
completed
taken.
as determined. Well, legally, it's substantial completion is the standard. In construction, I think Bill would go along with me on that. I just think that so why have a performance guarantee if you're not going to hold them to it? That's what a performance guarantee does.
This doesn't say that you won't. It just says that if, I'm trying to imagine what the scenario would be where somebody would actually have a hardship at the end and be.
Yeah.
And so
Joe, I'd say we do this. Go back to KP Law and put that sentence, because the issue I had was leaving the shall and the or in the same sentence. If Rosemary wants to get rid of the or in part, then it gives us, no flexibility. You hold 100% of it until they're done. So run that by KP Law and see what that, if you're allowed to do that, if we're allowed to.
Until it's
if I'm on a job and I hold retainage,
completed.
I can't hold 100% retainage if they only haven't done one item. You have to,
right.
Retainage is reflective of the
substantially completed.
Right.
Substantially completed.
Okay. I'll I
run
take
that,
it.
but we'll go to it next time.
Yeah. Okay.
So just to kind of circle back here, other than this last clause with our discussion here, is everybody fine with the rest of the document?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe, you got to take out or in part. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm making a note to myself here to have a conversation with Lee Smith tomorrow, just about this whole last sentence.
But just highlight. Do me a favor. Just highlight or in part, just so you don't forget.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm fine with everything else on there, but yes, it seemed it was conflicting there.
All right. So I think the general consensus is we're great with everything but that last sentence.
Yep.
And some of us are okay with it, but other ones not so much.
Let's try to get it to be 100% everybody on the same page. I'll get an answer from Lee, and we'll have it on your agenda again on the 9th.
All right.
Otherwise, I think it's a great document.
So Joe, since we are taking another week, I did email one question that I had about, so when we're saying the landowners are responsible for all these various costs and things, and we include town council fees, does that just automatically include, like, if we end up in litigation and we have outside counsel, or do we need to say outside counsel? I'm not expecting you to answer it, but since you're going back to KP.
Yeah, that's a good question, Jamie.
They have a good stable, don't they, of various land use and.
Yeah, but sometimes we run into the issue, like, we share counsel with Wenham or other towns, maybe
Right, we get conflicted out
as KP Law as a client or
right.
And then they would run into a conflict there.
Conflict of interest, yeah.
And sometimes we just like to get another opinion other than our counsel's opinion. And we've done that in the past on different situations, a handful of times. Sometimes we just want to confirm our town council is making good recommendations to us, so we ask for another opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I will.
Joe, I had a clause about that, we couldn't be, the agreement that the community signed basically held us harmless, where somebody couldn't change their mind and come back and sue the town, right? So there was some sort of I forget the terminology I gave you, but did you ask him about if we need that clause in here, that we're sort of held that, even though it's 100% agreement, we still want a clause in that? Because you said says there's a sample. If you go back to that, it says there's a sample. Go back to that 100%. It says there's a sample letter, Exhibit 1. That letter should say something about that the town they can't come back later and sue the town.
In the sample outline for property owners, you'd want something in here.
Is it in there? And I'm forgetting the legal terminology I used, but it was, maybe Rosemary can help me out, but it was basically
explain a little bit more.
that we couldn't be sued. Basically that, at the end of the day, if one of the residents changed their mind and wanted to sue, You know,
But how would we be liable since they're the ones who are bringing?
It's not that we're liable, it's that we still have to defend us, the suit,
We,
right?
we can still be named in a suit, right?
Yeah.
You can name anybody in a suit.
Right. So.
Right, but would we be the correct party to sue when they're the
Basically
ones who are-
Joe, basically
Yeah,
indemnify us, right? Indemnify the town from any community, you know, any town, you know, even though they all agreed to it, you know, it just takes a long time to happen, right? So all of a sudden they agree to it, and then there's the property gets sold and somebody else buys it and before it's finished, and then
Right. Then they don't
disagree
want
with
to.
it. So we just want to be indemnified from any future issues within the community,
So,
within the
okay,
private
all right.
road.
Yeah.
So yeah, some sort of indemnification clause is what I was looking for.
Indemnification clause, okay.
All right. Any other discussion on this until next time?
No, I think it's a pretty good document.
Yeah, I'm glad it's finally getting taken care of.
Okay.
Only 9 o'clock.
Is it
So I
9
make a
o'clock?
motion.
Yes, Darcy, please.
I
Quick,
just before Darcy does, I just want to encourage you all, if you haven't yet, try to direct as many people to the survey about town meeting and the tent and stuff. I know, Rosie, you have the flu clinic tomorrow, I think you said. But if you have any kind of social media presence, share it. I shared it to the Hamilton Wenham current residents page and my own page, but you know, the more the merrier. We can get it out there, the more people will see it, so we can get a real flavor. So Mr. Bowler, myself, and Joe can make a good informed decision on Friday whether they have the tent or not. I think it seems like we're leaning that way, but I'd like to have, you know, more than just 40, including Bill 41 survey results. So get the word out there. Also, Rosie and Darcy, I know you guys were working on PR for Town Hall, and just kind of a public service announcement to you two. I've gotten a lot of people who are saying, no way.
No way what?
No way on the Town Hall vote.
Well, they'll have to come to town meeting.
Right.
That's where the people will have their say.
Right. So I want the people coming to the town meeting to have as much information as possible. So
Right.
I know you had that kind of flyer. I want to just make sure that we're getting the information out there as much as we can to the voters besides the warrant, which, you know, everyone will see the warrant. But
Yeah, so, right, so the plan is to add a few renderings on the backside of the flyer, and Joe was going to talk to Bill and just make sure that this is all objective information so it could go in the warrant. That's still the plan.
Yep.
And Pat Shannon, if you're listening to this, I will see you on Tuesday afternoon. I will chat with you about probably after our Town Hall Building Committee meeting, and just talk to the committee about which renderings they think are the best to put in onto the back of that flyer.
all right. Any new business before Darcy makes her motion?
I'm going for it.
All right, go for it.
I make a motion that we adjourn for the evening.
Second.
All right, I thought nobody was going to second it for a second there.
Oh.
And a roll call vote, and I just want to thank Mr. Heaney for hanging out with us tonight, and Christina Shank Hargrove for listening in. And a roll call vote. All those in favor, we'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill Olson.
Olson, aye. Another great meeting. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, really
Darcy
good.
Dale.
Darcy Dale, aye. Thank you.
And Jamie.
Jamie Knutson, aye.
And not to forget myself, like I often do, Sean Farrell, aye. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you.